Thanks, Ajal. And I've learned a new word, which is googly. Glad to have so many of you join us in the room today. Yesterday was indeed a bit of a tenuous moment for us in terms of the planning and all the contingencies. So, can we have a round of applause for my colleagues in India team in navigating this so sensibly? And the audience, yes, all of you, persevering to come in and being part of this gathering. So, this is the fourth India or South Asia summit that I've been at, and I continue to be impressed with the depth of conversations and discussions taking place in India. I very much see this as the forefront of the market development and the conversations we have at AVPN. In the morning, we heard from our CEO, Naina, encouraging us to take pride in all the developments happening in India, looking inwards as well as looking east for models on innovation and what else we can possibly learn within the Asian community. And then we had Ganesh encouraging us to engage with governments on a very patient basis, talking about what's important with scale and public funding, and how do you have a true and deep impact at a massive level. Richard then encouraged us with a personal story as well on how to embrace change, embrace failure, and be bold in terms of everything we do. I managed to sit in on an afternoon session where we had Nakma and Gayatri talking to us as funders on how we can do the unconventional thing of listening to frontline charities or organizations, shifting the power balance, so to speak, being humble and taking guidance from those who are out there doing their best and making change happen. And it turns out that it's the smallest things that really matter in terms of what is required to shift the needle. So lots of encouraging messages. I hope to add to some of this in terms of my opening. No big plans in terms of talking about the strategy. I think many of you are involved in the sessions today. You'll cover all that in detail. What I wanted to do was to share a story with you. Actually, can I go back? Can we go back one slide? Okay. Well, first slide. Okay, now we got it. I want to share a story with you from 2014. If you look closely at the logo here, it is the AVPN conference in 2014, 9 years ago, almost a decade. Yeah? Prerna, were you there? Okay, great. So, some of you might remember this young gentleman. We had a room full of about 200 members, so not unlike our gathering here at the summit this time around. Very close-knit group of social investors talking about this new thing called AVPN and how we can partner and collaborate effectively towards the future. So, Kyung-sun's story, Kyung-sun is the gentleman's name. He's got a very interesting story, right? He's a third-generation family member of the Hyundai Motor Group. Okay, so sufficient to say it comes from a good amount of wealth. And what he shared with us was a bold idea of creating a co-working space for social entrepreneurs. That was his dream. Yeah, this was the time when Korea was going through a resurgence in terms of youth activism, and young people were all energized, wanting to do something to engage in society. And he said, given our family's influence and what our place in society, this is something we can do to enable that movement. Unfortunately, his family had other plans for him, right? They wanted him to be involved in the family business, do the commercial thing, help to sell more cars, do more R&D, and that's where his kind of angst and pain came in, right? He wanted to be part of the whole social impact movement, but not getting a lot of support from family. So he shared this very candidly with all of us and said, whatever it takes, I'm going to find a way to navigate through this, and I'll come back in the future with an update. So fast forward to the AVPN conference in 2017, and we were in Bangkok at that time. So Kyung-sun took the stage, right? He said, very proud to share with all of you that I did it, right? Managed to find a way to convince my family. And the way he did that was, social entrepreneurship runs a spectrum. You've got those who are innovative models in the non-profit space, creating tremendous amounts of impact and scale. And then you've got other models that are more amenable to business and profitability. So he said, to convince my family, I started delving into all these other commercial aspects and looking for the impact in some seemingly commercial approaches and convincing them that this is a way you can use business for purpose and also generate very interesting levels of profit. So that turned his family around. They own a lot of real estate, so that's the building that they allocated to creating the co-working space. And this is actually in one of the hippest parts of Seoul. Yeah, some of you might have heard of a facility called Hayground. If you haven't heard about it, on your next trip to Korea, to Seoul, look it up. Super dynamic building of social entrepreneurs, social innovators. It's not just co-working, okay? He pushed the envelope and he made it a co-living space. So round the clock, social entrepreneurs were bouncing off ideas, working together and getting really energized about what it took to shift the needle on social issues in Seoul, as well as beyond. And this actually catalyzed a whole impact investing movement within the Korea market. I see, Anurag, you're nodding your head there. This doesn't particularly show up in English language media, but if you understood Korean and you saw the trends coming out of that country, you see there are tremendous business models coming out from Korea, from Seoul, and then replicating. You've got venture capital firms who have taken on the impact investing mantle and put on that impact investing hat and started replicating their ideas all across Southeast Asia. So very awesome development, very awesome movement. Today, Kyung-san splits his time between Singapore and Seoul. He has successfully raised a USD $200 million fund focused on climate, alternative proteins. So has really sort of shifted, right? I mean, initially he was borderline written off by his family as, just trying to be a do-gooder. And then now he's like big-time investor in the impact space. Yeah? So why am I sharing this story with all of you? What's the key message here? Yeah, in the impact sector, we tend to get enamored by social entrepreneurs. Yeah, they are innovative, they are bold, they are dynamic, they push the envelope, they challenge the status quo. And who's on the other side of the social entrepreneur? You've got social investors, right? You've got grant makers, you've got impact investors. Unfortunately, not so many positive words to describe social investors. Yeah, they seem to get in the way, they have rules, they have KPIs, they're always constraining all this innovation, not creating the space. But you know what? The key point here is social investors can be social entrepreneurs too. Yeah? Doesn't mean that social entrepreneurs mean you have to start a social enterprise, right? In my mind, a social entrepreneur is someone who is entrepreneurial for social good. And anyone can be a social entrepreneur. And my message to all of you, and what I urge us all to think about, is how we can all be social entrepreneurs as social investors. Whether you're a next-gen family member, whether you're on the leadership team of a grant-making foundation, if you're in a government agency, if you sit in a corporate CSR department, you have access to resources. Yeah, you have taking decisions on all these resources. How we approach it in terms of the way we perceive the existing structures and rules is what matters. And sometimes we have to do the bold, the unconventional, the innovative thing to get the resources to where they are absolutely needed to change the outcomes for all the frontline NGOs and charities and to have that impact. Yeah? So I urge all of us to think along those lines. And what I want to share with you is that you're in the right place, right? All of you in the room. Yeah, Nena, our CEO, always tells our team that you've got many options in your career, but you chose to join AVPN. Yeah, and AVPN is the place where you can be bold, you can come up with new ideas, you can encourage collaboration in the sector. We've done things like organizing the G20. Yeah, it came about because one of our members in an earlier stage of his career was an AVPN member, became the Minister of Tourism and Culture in Indonesia, and then worked with us to put together the G20 Impact Day. Yeah? And we've done bold things like our philanthropic pool funds. Never run a fund before, right? AVPN has always been convening, bringing people together. But we said, how do we do something about the COVID situation at that time? When funders were grounded, they couldn't travel, they couldn't meet charities to deploy their resources. So we put that together using the elements that we had. And Hiril is here. She can tell you more about our pool funds. It is all about surfacing all these organizations on the edges that you don't hear about. The small organizations out there doing innovative things, shifting the needle. The big ones are well served, right? I mean, they will show up on a Google search and they will get the big ticket funding. It's the small ones on the ground where they articulate their work in local language, local culture. Those are the ones we want to sieve out. And then build their capacity, grow them to the stage where they can get the support they need. So the AVPN team is here to support all of you. We have 614 members today. Our colleagues are located across 14 markets or countries on the ground. We hope to be able to partner closely with each and every one of you in terms of your work in India, beyond India, and across Asia. So let's all be social entrepreneurs, and I wish you very productive and constructive conversations today. Thank you.